So, so thank you,
Yeah.
Justin.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that makes everything, I mean, it makes things pretty easy. I mean, I'll record it and then I'll post it on our town YouTube and post it on our town website, and that essentially will be the minutes.
So, what is the policy about using the AI, in Zoom to,
Oh, that's interesting. I feel like, I think, well, that's interesting because I was actually on a call the other day, and I think there's like a little bit of a gray area with the Maryland Public Information Act where it's they recommend maybe not doing the AI
okay,
because
that's fine.
there's like questions as to where it's saved or yeah.
No, no problem. I've actually only seen one session in some other work I do where they actually did AI, and then it was mostly okay, except it missed a key comment I made,
Okay,
somewhere.
yeah,
So, it's not perfect. As I was just curious. All right, well,
yeah.
we now have a good number of folks on. I don't think we're missing anybody except for Patty. Patty Friedman. That's the only person I know that's not on. I suggest that we get started.
May
Welcome,
I
everyone.
may I take a moment and introduce my daughter-in-law, Amy,
Oh, oh,
who
yes.
is a new town resident and interested in the Environment Committee. Not ready to join yet, but maybe. But
Welcome.
I
Well,
invited
welcome,
her to this
Amy.
meeting and she wanted to come.
Welcome, Amy. And actually, I was going to ask that question, after, we started. But thank you for bringing that up, Ralph.
Yeah,
Uh,
happy to be here. Can you guys hear me?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just making sure because yeah.
So let's get started with this Environment Committee meeting. It's been a while, and it's fully on me. Uh, I have been, it's been a very busy, several months since February, and just it's not been top of mind. I totally acknowledge that and apologize. But there is a number of things that have now come up, in particular issues on composting and on some other issues that Rohit Khanna asked me about, whether the Environment Committee could look into and talk about. So I decided to go ahead and convene the meeting, and I promise to do this on a more regular basis going forward. So at this point, just as I indicated, looks like we have the committee that exists at this point. In that Kumar is here, and Barton, Ivor, and Ralph, and myself. Um, so since I know the agenda, which I'll share my screen with the agenda. Hold on. The agenda for the meeting is going to be several. One is we don't have, I had put down approval of the minutes, and turns out we do not have any minutes from the last meeting as far as we can tell from the February meeting. So we will do better next time, whereas we just asked Justin that a recording should be sufficient and we'll not need a minutes going forward. So that removes another requirement, activity that always was a bit of a work to do, having done it for a year or so myself, and Ralph kindly has been doing it for the last year or so. Thank you, Ralph. So going forward, that's great. So the major thing on the agenda is I wanted to inform and bring everybody up to speed on where we are on composting. So you probably have seen the town announcements to that effect, and I put out at least one notice on the Somerset listserv. And Rohit reached out to me back in July and said that the town was interested in potentially doing a pilot on composting at the pool. This is something that we, as the Environment Committee and also the Pool Committee, had both recommended back in February. And so I was gratified that the town was moving on it and was expressing interest. So based on Rohit's request, and also given the quick turnaround that's going to be required, I did I worked up a proposed composting idea. I shared it with the group. You should have all received these emails, and then shared it with the pool committee. The pool committee, Matt Zaft was the person I was mostly communicating with. He expressed some concerns, primarily worrying about extra work on the staff and potential for, various vermin or rodents, to be able to be going into the compost. So I expressed and back to him, that the design of the pilot I had put together would have the compost removed from the compost bin every night, just like the trash is done by the pool staff, and it would be put out into the bin that sits out in the recycling area outside of the pool. And but it was not still 100% agreement between our committees, but the town decided to go ahead and develop the pilot, and they did, and it started on September 1. And if you go to the pool, you will see that there is a composting bin over close to the kitchen door, over underneath the covered up area near the fence. And it is a large bin. I thought might have been like a small residential one, but it's a 27-gallon, reasonably tall, reasonably large, with an open space that you can just put the compost in. And it says on it, food scraps only. And so that's where things stand at this point. I've actually gone down to the pool a couple times and investigated to see how it was being used. I went down after a week on a Sunday and a weekend, and there was just the weekend of Labor Day. I went down on Labor Day itself, and there were compost in the bin. So people are seeing the signs, seeing the announcements, and actually using it. I went back down there on Wednesday. I'm up here visiting my father right now in Connecticut, and there was nothing in the compost bin, but also there was nobody at the pool. This was, about 6 o'clock in the evening, and I did have a nice conversation with the lifeguards on staff and also the pool manager, to ask how is it going? Has this been an issue? Is this any burden? Is this a problem? And the main thing they said, well, no one's been here, so it's not been used much. But they say it's not an issue. They've just been doing this just as a regular, process. They see no problem with doing it, and they're happy to do it. And they're excited that it's happening at the pool. So it's all good at this point. So according to, if you read the town journal, I'm actually not. It's going to come out in the town journal. The pilot's going to go through the end of September, and we will assess at that point. I will, as the proposal I put forward to the town was that we would have conversations with pool management and also with the pool committee to assess, where we are at the end of the year, and then make decisions. The point, there was some suggestion, especially from Matt, saying, shouldn't we be doing this pilot in the middle of a busy part of the season, to really see how it works? And I agree, we should probably do it again. But my view was, let's do it during a time when we're not stretching and stressing or causing problems. If this is creating red flags or a burden on the staff at this level, then that's a red flag. Maybe we want to reconsider. So those are the things we'll be talking about at the end of the season. But so far, I think it's been very successful. And anyone has any comments or questions?
I have
Ralph?
two. First of all, I wouldn't want to have another pilot. I'm hoping that after this, we can put it in place as a regular thing, starting with the beginning of the next pool season. And the second thing is food scraps only. I I have the impression, and I could be wrong, but it's my impression that a lot of people bring a lot of pizza to the pool. Now, if I'm wrong, then so be it. But if I'm right, could we add pizza boxes to the, they would obviously wouldn't go in the bin, but if we could have food scraps and pizza boxes, that would maybe be a significant improvement.
Ralph, I agree with you, and it is limiting. There are plenty of compostable plates and glasses and things like that. It could also go in. This was a discussion that I had with, and Justin was involved with the compost crew management. And they were, one of their huge concerns is that they did not want contamination, quote unquote, what they call contamination,
Right.
when that means non-compostable items.
Well, that
And
was
so,
why I was suggesting just this one thing, which is compostable.
and
And
I think we could probably get there. That's my opinion. But I think let's start here, and so that we can educate people, on what could be in there, and also their expressed concern in a public space. It's much harder to control, what goes in, and that's one of the reasons we decided to put the compost bin away from the trash bins, because I've seen this happen. I've gone to even events where you have a blue bin next to a trash bin, and people put trash in the blue bin. People just don't are not as conscious as we would hope. So that's the reason why we decided to go food scraps only.
okay.
But I hear you, and we could, going forward, perhaps after the, next year, and I will recommend, based on this, if this is successful, I will be recommending to the town to, and I'll take it to the Environment Committee, the recommendation, to take this and make it, a permanent feature and not a pilot.
Great.
So, any other questions about composting?
I think it's great what you're doing, Dave. I think you're doing all the right steps, and obviously I agree with Ralph's. Let's not do a double pilot if possible.
I'm there. All right. The thing that actually is also on the agenda, this was actually brought up by Rohit. He went to they have the conference of the Maryland, I forget the name of it. It's where all the municipalities get together, and he came back with some thoughts, based on people he talked to, and that's the three items that are next on the three possible initiatives that are on the agenda. One is curbside collection of electric items and batteries. His note is that the county's doing this now. It's rolling that program out, and so why are we behind the county? We're usually ahead of the county. So my opinion is I think it's a great idea. I think that we should do that. I myself, take all my electronics up to the transfer station, to take it back. All my computers, my monitors, etc. I never batteries, etc. I drive it all the way up to Gaithersburg. I would love to, be able to put that out in the curb and not have to, do that extra step.
Is that a once a week thing?
Well, that's the question mark. And from my understanding, from looking at the Montgomery process, it's not a month, it's not a weekly thing. It's actually you contact and they come and they'll pick it up. So it's like, large item pickup in the county. So the question then becomes, since have our own trash, contractors, we have our own trash, operation, which is separate from the county. Do we want to implement our own process, or do we want to reach out to the county and see if we can, opt into their system?
Mm-hmm. Is that, I mean, the latter seems more perhaps easier to do. And also maybe we can have a trash can on the town porch, and then people can just drop it off, and then it can get picked up. If there's not that much traffic, it might not be worth our while to have everybody have a separate bin for the, but to have people just come to the town and dump it. I think that's a short enough distance that it still will attract a fair amount of people. Justin, what do you think about having that on the porch?
Or maybe by the garage.
Or by
Yeah,
the garage?
I mean, I think that sounds like to me good, but obviously I'd have to talk with kind of the staff and the mayor and everyone else. I do know with the garage would be probably nice, especially because near there we probably could get like a decent sized bin. But I do know that a fence might be put up where like the dumpster kind of is right now. So I'd have to think about that. But I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, could you look into that? Meanwhile,
Yeah.
I will and reach out to the county, if I figure out, if there's any way we can do it. But the question is, we don't, except for police, and fire, we don't opt into other county services, right, Justin?
Uh, that well, so if you call the county for this, they would still come and then pick that up.
They would inside of our, even though we're
Yeah,
not.
I believe. I'll double check, but I believe they would. Yes.
Hmm. I think maybe they wouldn't, because I know they won't come and do metal recycling in the town.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, um, well, we could also do it, another option besides, I love your idea, Barton, of having the bin or something. Another option would be, having like at the same time we do the shredding event,
Hmm.
you
We
know,
have done that in the past with
we
batteries.
could have bring your electronic equipment, and batteries, and we will then arrange to get them, taken up by the county or brought up to the transfer station.
You mean once a year?
That'll be like a once a year thing.
If it's just batteries, that's simple, relatively. But if it's large television sets,
That's the problem.
we could carry a person, a family could carry theirs up to the transfer station that David was talking about in Gaithersburg. But I don't see putting a large, even a flat screen TV or one of the big deep ones out by the road and expecting somebody to come by and pick it up.
I think that's how the county is doing it.
If the county's doing it, great. But could
Why
we
don't
do
you?
that?
Well, once you find out whether or not the county will do it, sounds like from Ralph's comments that it probably can't, and then we can go to step two. If if step one is feasible, and Justin says we can put a bin, near the garage or wherever, then it sounds like we are on our way. But if not, then we're going to have to think twice.
Okay. All right.
I
So,
think the county can do anything that we're willing to pay for.
right. That's what I was saying. Opt in, we pay have to pay for it.
Okay.
That would to me would be the easiest. People just put it, just contact the county, they come by, and it would be the least mess for everybody. I think everybody would appreciate that. But we need to find out how they doing it and whether we can, yeah, participate.
Yeah, I think to follow up on your comment, Dave, I think doing it more regularly will make better behavior because if I have to hold on to these batteries for 12 months, you know what I mean, and then bring it to the event, it's just going to be you're only going to get like 20% of what you could
Right.
potentially get if you do
Agreed.
it this way.
Agreed. Okay. So, I don't think we need a recommendation on this at this point. I think we need more research is required, to find out whether what's doable. And if once we do that, then why don't we make a decision and recommendation at the next meeting?
Great.
And if it's something that costs money, we could include it in our contract with the the trash and recycling people in the spring.
Well, that goes to the good company.
Right.
This would be a separate line item and go to someone else. So I'm not sure it's in that. It would be more inside of the line item of trash and recycling. So,
Sounds good.
all right, moving on to the next item. So there is Rohit was also asking about the possible use of sustainable options for sidewalks and for parking lots. And, the idea being, is there a way that we can, make them permeable? Is there a way to make them less, be pervious surface? Let me see if I can see the exact note. It says, whenever the town replaces sidewalks or resurfaces its parking lots, could we consider porous and permeable pavements? Are there opportunities to have more bioretention systems on town property, parks, and right-of-ways? So I'm totally support the idea of it, but the question then becomes where and this can be costly, especially the permeable pavers. We have permeable pavers, and we got a Rainscape grant to help us, but they're not cheap. But
Mhm.
I think that putting them on the town parking lot behind the tennis courts would be an excellent location because I think the neighbors are worried about runoff from
Mhm.
that parking lot anyways. So as much as we can have go into the ground right there as opposed to running off, I think would be a big benefit.
Mhm. Justin, when do you think we would have that opportunity? I mean, when is the asphalt going to need to be replaced? Is that like 5, 10, 20 years from now, or?
Uh, so you're talking about for the basically the town hall parking lot?
Yes.
That's a good question. I don't know the last time it was replaced. I mean, it could have been. I mean, it was definitely before my time when I was here. But I don't know if it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago or how long. Um, so I'd have to get back to you on that. But if there was a desire to essentially make it new with permeable surfaces, then that's something I guess we could do as well. It would be expensive, but that's something that could be recommended.
Hmm.
And then the other parking lot, town has is of course the pool parking lot.
Yeah.
The issue with the pool parking lot is the slope, and permeable pavers don't work great on slopes
Mm.
because the whole point of I don't know if people know about permeable pavers, but what they are is there's a permeable. The pavers themselves are permeable, and there's also space between them, and then below them there's 18 inches of gravel.
Hmm.
And then, there's basically a concrete fence that, then lines the outside of it. So, it stays within the area. Um,
Mm.
so that's great for flat surfaces because you're basically filling up a dry well with water. But when now we put it on a slope, the water is going to be like this.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that's why, at least in the town, they're given exceptions or try to deal with that when people are being asked to put in permeable pavers in the new buildings. Especially if they have a steep driveway, there's not much choice there. But there are some flatter areas at the pool parking lot. I'm not sure if we probably get as bang for the buck, but could be looked into.
So I have kind of some thoughts and questions about that as far as permeable pavers are one of the options, but I don't know a whole lot about this, but I have the impression that there's new types of concrete that are being developed that are more sustainable as well, but those are probably very expensive, but they might they might fill the purpose for the pool lot better than permeable pavers. But of course, like the most sustainable solution is one that already exists, and it's kind of a if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of situation. Well, maybe, I don't know, because if there's runoff, then that's a bit of a different situation.
Mhm.
Uh, I hear you, and I think that you're right, exactly right. There are, porous or, concretes that allow for that. My understanding, I'm worried that they get clogged over time, potentially, and I think that less of an issue. You still have to blow off your permeable pavers to make sure there's no organic matter getting in the cracks, but it's another option. So the other option, that's talking about parking lots, is if you go into the district, and look at their sidewalks. Many times you'll come walk along a sidewalk, and all of a sudden you'll become this black, kind of spongy, this type of surface.
Yeah.
That's a initiative that the district has been doing, and most of the reason they're doing that is it's around mature trees. And
Right.
is to allow for water and to let less damage to and let the trees grow. So
Mm.
there are options there, but it is. I don't think we have as much of that issue as far as I know in town sidewalks where there's this the trees are pushing up the sidewalks. But it's another option, is to use, this type of surface. But it does make it a less flat, more, potentially, some of the ones I've seen in the district, you kind of like you're walking up and over. So
Mm.
it could be potentially considered a tripping.
Hmm.
Any
Yep.
reactions to those things? People have seen them.
Yeah, those black things they're great in the sense that they give the trees a chance to breathe and grow, but they're definitely could be a hazard. I don't know how whether that they use that for actual parking lots. They might not be
I wasn't thinking of parking lot, I was thinking sidewalks.
on the sidewalks. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I'm not that impressed with that material because I bike into DCO Military Road to visit my father, and I go over those things, and they're they're not that great, but I mean, they do accomplish that task. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, my feeling is that maybe Justin can just investigate whether or not there's a schedule for this parking lot, and I don't think necessarily, as Amy said, we should just fix stuff until it's broken, unless there's complaints from the neighbors that the runoff is not being cared for sufficiently.
Right. And Justin, quick question on, are there grants available to municipalities to do sustainable work?
There are. I mean, that's something that I get. I guess it's a monthly newsletter from Sustainable Maryland, and a lot of times they'll like have like grant opportunities in there. So I keep an eye on that. For since we're such a small town, sometimes it can be a little tough. Like the requirement might be you have to spend like a certain amount of money. The long story is yes, but is we're a little limited.
Okay. I was just curious because I know that I got a Rainscapes grant for my permeable pavers, and Sarah Morse, my wife, she's been actually writes and actually so far she's batting 1,000 on her grants that she gets with the Chesapeake Bay Trust, and she's
Yeah,
been working with a number of communities, including Overlook over there by Delacardia. She's working right now with
Great.
Little Falls Pool on some work,
oh,
and
nice.
Bannockburn also. So
Oh, that's
all
great.
trying to do some form of, stormwater, work. And they've gotten grants from, Chesapeake Bay Trust. That I don't know if that those apply to towns, but that's the type of stuff. There's models for how to do that, and especially like Overlook, which was this community has its own pool over by Delacardia overlooking it, and they would put in permeable pavers, and they tore out the asphalt. But they were
Okay.
in the process of making decisions on what to do with their current asphalt parking lot. So it was part of their maintenance issue.
Okay. Yeah, I'll keep. I mean, I'll continue keeping an eye on grants, but probably look into it a little bit more because it's always good to get money to do good things.
All right. I see that Patty's joined. Hi, Patty.
Think you're on mute.
She doesn't seem to be able to get off mute. Um, so,
I'm late. I apologize. I thought it was 8 o'clock somehow.
okay. Anyways, we've already gone through a couple items. We went to composting and reported that it's doing well. It's the town basically adopted our proposal, and we are going to assess at the end of the year. And I think the sentiment of the committee is that based on that assessment, which I think will be positive, we'll probably recommend, later this year or early next year to make it a permanent feature at the pool.
Great. Thank you.
And then we were also talking about curbside collection. We're going to be researching of electronics. The county now does that. We're wondering, can we?
Oh.
And then so right now we're just finishing up. We're talking about whether we could have sustainable options for the parking lots and for sidewalks. And there was some discussion that maybe the most appropriate place to put these, if we do permeable, might be at the town parking lot behind the tennis courts. And I know that there's been runoff issues there in the past, and concerns. But that's related to that. Let me move to the other item, which was one of the other items on Rohit's list was what about
Solar canopies.
bioretention? No, solar canopy is coming next. Bioretention, some form of rain gardens or whatnot associated with town, property. We already have a rain garden, there at the town between the town hall and the tennis court.
Yeah.
And I don't know about I haven't been in the town parking lot recently, but what the space between the parking lot and the fences of the neighbor,
Mhm.
there's a drain there, right? Or is the
There
drain at
is.
the other end?
There is a drain there, and right now it's basically like a pile of rocks, like a big pile of like big rocks
Mm-hmm.
that fill
Okay.
that area.
But it has a drain as part of it, right?
There is a drain, yes.
So potentially we could, I have to look into it, but potentially we could put another, rain garden there, still with a drain, but the drain it would only be drained when the water flows up to a certain height, and the rest of it would then, would go into the ground.
Okay.
Yeah,
follow
that sounds like a good option. I like that option better just because, I just like it personally better. And I think you could probably get some grants for that too.
Right. But the town at the parking lot, there's hardly any space to do anything. And the town did work and did, at the end of to the right of the bridge, as you're walking down, there did do some plannings to try to, at least, it's not a rain garden, but it was an attempt to try to make it less of a straight flow of water straight into the creek.
Oh, you mean by the pool?
Yeah, by the pool. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure there's any others, and we have that, the retention pond that's down there at the end of the parking lot, which I'm not sure call that a rain garden, but so there's already things at the pool that do that kind of stuff. I'm not sure what else we can do.
Well,
Or potentially, I'm just thinking about the pool. What am I thinking? We could take out the main portion that's right there next to the pool. That's flat. And we could potentially make that a permeable.
mhm.
So anyways, some ideas. I think we need to look into, when the town is thinking about refinishing or resurfacing. I'm sorry, I'm skipping around in different thoughts in my head. There was an attempt. I don't know, Patty, if you remember this. There was an attempt to put a rain garden down on town property at the end of Warwick, right by the Little Falls branch there.
I do remember that,
And neighbors did not want it, and so it was squashed.
right? They like that green area because kids play on it.
Right.
There was a big uproar.
Um,
But it's a big, I mean, it's not going to, the rain garden doesn't take up the entire space, or does it?
Agreed. Agreed. I'm not sure. Do we want to? I think that person is no longer there, who's the main person who fought it. But
Yeah, it would require a curb cut and then the water to be diverted because the curb has the water going directly into the drains
right.
and into the creek. So I don't know whether you'd want it, I guess, higher up on that land at the higher point rather than at the lowest point. I don't know exactly where it would be.
I think there was some designs or thought of it. I don't. So I can check with Sarah. Was involved with that many years ago. So
Yeah, I don't
maybe
have
she
any
remembers.
knowledge. The PNRC, we threw up our arms when we hit resistance.
Hmm.
Okay. So that's the last place I can think of a town property that would be a potential place for bioretention.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about that space is like it's literally only like 20 feet or 50 feet away from the actual creek.
Right.
So, you know, does it make sense to put a retention pond right next to the creek where it's actually going to go? Or, I mean, maybe that's just a weak comment that I'm saying.
I think any thing that retains the water
Is good.
is good, and it keeps it
Slows
from
the
rushing
flow.
into the stream.
Right. It slows the major storm flow.
Right.
So
So it
that's
seems
nice.
like that location is like a major area where water flows. You know what I mean? So it seems like that
Yeah.
could be a major contribution to water retention. Like, you know what I mean? Not
Yeah.
a small thing, like the parking lot in the tennis courts. And this seems much larger idea, which would be make more of an impact.
Well, let me go back and try to figure out what was the plans and what were and I know the objection was, and I'm sorry, I heard this story and I'll tell it because it's been, I don't think the person lives in town anymore. Um, the person who was mostly objected liked to go out and with his putter
Right.
and
Right.
use the green as his own little putting surface.
That's right.
Love it.
True
Love
that.
it.
Yep.
Okay. Look into it, David. I like the idea.
All right, I'll dig into it. So that's what I'm hearing from the committee is interest in the idea. We need to look into whether it's feasible and whether there are some potential grants, and also when there's the other long-term capital projects for the sidewalks and for the parking lots that we could connect with.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
The next one is on installation of solar canopies over town parking lots. And Rohit, suggested that I would love solar canopies. I think they are fantastic. Actually, I just was, that Montgomery County's ride-on buses
Mhm.
are going to be 100%, carbon free
Awesome.
Wow.
by 2035.
Okay.
They're going to be either a fully electric or fuel cell operated. And
Awesome.
I went on a tour. I was associated with some work I'm doing with the World Bank at Brookville. The Brookville bus depot is now a bus charging depot.
Oh, I love it.
So right there off of Brookville, right as you turn left and you go across the bridge and down the hill, that's where the bus depot is. And there, besides the fact they have charging, but they also have the whole thing is covered. All the parking lot where the buses are covered with solar canopies at this point.
Wow.
Awesome.
And if you go to the public safety building out Route 28, you will also see canopies over their parking lots. And so it's a great option. It costs money though.
Mhm.
It's because of the fact that it's you have to have installed posts in a superstructure as opposed to putting it onto a roof, which is its own structure,
Right.
it costs money. So on the other hand, there's benefits, particularly with, during the hot summer, you're shaded, your cars. So he was just asking questions on whether is any appetite in the town, to spend the money. I think the best place to put it would be the town parking lot, but Justin, does it during the high point of the summer, does is that parking lot fully in the sun the whole for a good part of the day? I know
Uh,
that there's tall trees to the south.
yeah, I know there's a portion of it kind of like further down that's kind of in the shade because of the big trees.
Right.
I would say like 75% of it is exposed to the sun, but the other 25%, like at the end, has pretty good shade because that's where I normally park at the end, or I have been because of the shade.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So,
He's,
Who would benefit from this? Just the people who park in those parking lots? I mean, how would the town benefit?
solar, it would be more solar to, offset our electric purchases
For the town, like the
for the
town
town.
hall.
Right.
Oh, so
yeah.
Well, I
Hey.
mean, this is Ivar here. If the SRECs continue, this is it could be a pretty good investment.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I mean, we paid our solar panels off in less than 4 years, but it depends on the SRECs staying at a high level that they are now, and who knows if they will.
And I think the town, unfortunately, the hall is not, is on a feeder that's not the one that's connected to the
It's the Maryland grid.
Maryland.
Oh.
It's connected to the Maryland grid, not the DC grid.
Yeah. Well, so
Okay.
actually, yeah, so the town hall is on the Maryland grid, but actually our solar panels at the pool are on the DC grid.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Justin, to follow up on that comment, what is going on with the solar um, installation at the pool? Did
Oh
it
yeah.
happen?
So at the pool, I'm that's scheduled for October. So it's scheduled once the pool
Oh,
closes, it'll be
awesome.
happening. Yeah, so that's October.
Awesome. Is that going to be written up at Town Journal? I have not, seen.
Oh, that's actually that's a good point. I don't know if it'll be on the October Journal at this point, but I guess once it's after it's installed, could probably get on the November Journal with the pictures and everything, kind of letting people know that solar's now at the pool. So we'll have pictures, and once it's done, we can put it on in the journal.
I know this is something Barton was very focused on, so I'm sure you're pretty happy, Barton.
Oh yeah, off the
Mm.
charts. Very, very happy. Yeah, this is great. Thanks, Justin, for
Yeah, no,
following
absolutely.
through this, and also to your point about the parking lot in next to tennis courts. I mean, I'm open for doing solar there too. I mean, it gets a lot of sun, and I think if my recollection is correct, that 80% of the solar collection happens between like 11 and 1 p.m. or something like that. So, if you have direct sunlight during those hours, that's where most of the benefit is happening.
Yeah.
Uh, so I think this is a long-term thought. I think that, I think we need to kind of, think this is a potential future item, but I don't think we should totally table it.
Yeah, well, let's get the pool finished
Right.
and then submit the idea for the next phase
Yeah.
3.
Okay. All right. Here, the last item that's on the agenda, I added later, basically because the request from Justin, is about the apiary, and Vinton Park. And Justin, do you want to talk about, what was the town did and what it did, what the town
Yeah.
decided on?
Yeah, so I'll give an update. So basically, as of right now, we don't have any bees in our apiary. It's not really functioning. The bees that were originally brought to Somerset, I forget exactly what happened, but essentially they died due to colony collapse or various other reasons. And right now we don't have anyone like hired to maintain the apiary. So at the May 2025 council meeting, uh, the council met with or heard from a company that does beekeeping services. They offered a variety of different things, which I can go into that, but essentially it was $12,000 per year with a lot of so. I'll go into that in a sec, but so essentially, where things stand right now, the council decided that at the May 2025 meeting to not allocate funds for the apiary and beekeeping program. They decided that basically because of the cost, they thought it was too expensive. They were worried about a risk of potential colony collapse, spending the 12,000 or $8,000 on this service, and the bees could just die. That's a possibility. And then they also had a preference for alternative methods of supporting bees, such as promoting individual residents to have like their own apiaries in their backyards or other ways to attract bees. Um, they so that was their decision. However, they want input from the Environment Committee and the Parks and Natural Resources Committee, and they're open to. They basically want to hear what you all have to say about that, and they'd be willing to change their mind. But that was just their original thoughts.
Hmm.
I'm gonna open it up because I know there's some folks have some thoughts on bees. So, Barton,
So, I mean, obviously, this was my, our pet project. I'm, really disappointed just as a starting point here because, we put a lot of work into making a recommendation. And of course, I'm disappointed that our beekeeper, went missing in action. And after extensive research, I wasn't able to find anyone else who had time to do this. I mean, Montgomery County, whole area experienced colony collapse related to
Mhm.
the weather. So it wasn't just specific to the town of Somerset. And anyway, I think it's really important to have this bee colony. I think it just speaks so much to our town's stewardship of the land that we live on. I like the idea of encouraging individual homeowners to have bees. I like that a lot. So I'm not discounting that idea at all. Um, but I really feel like that having an apiary is a real statement. And it's not just great for the environment, the pollinators, but it's also a great statement to be like a bee city. Also, I was hoping, that we could be a part of that. I mean, we're not leaders here. This is not an idea that it will put us in a leadership position. It will put us in a very strong following position because many municipalities have apiaries around the country. So, and I'm sure everybody who travels to Portugal or wherever, they always see bees and bee colonies and these bee boxes all over the countryside. So it's a major international movement, and it'd be great to be a part of it. So I would love. I mean, now having said all that, $10,000 a year, is that a substantial amount of money that's not worth investing in? I don't really have a clear answer to that. That's something, Justin might be able to speak to. Obviously, the council has spoken also saying that it's too much money.
what was the contract with Elizabeth Harris? How much
It
she
was
was paying?
zero. She was doing it for
Zero.
free. She put her own investment,
Okay.
but
So
unfortunately, she has to take care of her mother now, and she has no extra space time.
I
here's,
oh
go ahead,
sorry.
Justin.
I was gonna say, I'm sure the council, I believe most of them would prefer going forward with an apiary to hire a professional service so that we hire them and they can maintain it. That was their kind of their stance, but I do believe that uh, they're open to volunteer services, but that's would be something they want to consider.
I mean,
So,
we did do that. I searched for a lot of volunteers and asked the whole community. So I fell flat. I mean, maybe things have changed in the last year, but anyway, I'm
so
sorry, Dave.
Justin, how did they find this company?
That's a good question. EJ found the company. I'm not sure exactly how.
Okay.
They might have reached out to him or he found them. Um,
So,
so
yeah,
I don't know how many other companies we've looked at.
Like, I'm going to give you my opinion, which I love the idea of having to be, there on the parkland. And I agree with Barton. It's nice to be able to say, we support it and that type of stuff. I'm not there whether the 12,000 seems a bit high, for, a service that probably not many people in town, really know it's there. There's only the people walking the dogs or walking back there on Vinton Park, will actually see it.
Hmm.
And so I'm just I guess I'm not a strong advocate for spending that much money on it. Here I one suggestion I was wondering whether this is possible. If the town is interested in people being, having bees, what about if the town, allows, someone to use the hive and start becoming a beekeeper instead of having to put it on their own property or invest in their own equipment?
Hmm.
Is that something that's possible?
I I'll write it down and I'll talk to the council about it. I'm not quite sure about the process with bees and how that works, but I think that I like the idea, but I'm just not sure in practice how that works.
I mean, that's essentially what we've been doing. I mean, Elizabeth Harris is like was basically a town resident. She lived next door to me for 6 years, and then now she lives on Drummond. But essentially, she's like a
Right.
resident and doing it. So that's essentially what, if we could put out an email on the listserv and say, hey, we're looking for a neighbor to take care of the apiary, and
I,
maybe someone will bite.
I think that actually, what I'm suggesting is a different angle, Barton. Instead of who's willing to do it, what I'm suggesting is let's make this, especially if the town is trying to encourage people to potentially put them on their own properties. Maybe we can, something that we can encourage someone who has an interest in being a beekeeper, to use this, as a means to start knowing how to do it. It's a different angle. It's still neighbors, but it's, kind of works with what, the town's want of something.
Mhm.
And wouldn't get rid of the hives.
So
Um, Go
ju-
ahead.
just as a point of clarification, are we saying that like the town would still invest the money for the equipment and everything? Is the $12,000 price tag, is that for the installation of the
No.
thing, or is that for the maintenance of the
Yeah.
hive? That's
Yeah.
what the $12,000
Yeah.
is?
Yeah, actually, I think it might be helpful as well. I can just go through what this company, what like everything that they offered in that proposal for the 12,000 real quick, if that would be good.
Well, yeah, because my thing is if it's just like a, if it's $1,000 for the just the stuff, right? The putting the thing in, getting the bees, all of that, and then we have a volunteer that it could still potentially lead to colony collapse, but there's less of like a risk of, like the whole risk assessment of it changes in that circumstance.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that definitely that makes sense. And the company that reached out to us, so the 12,000 was for it would be one branded honeybee hive. We'd have a professional beekeeper that has monthly beekeeper visits. They would have two workshops a year, two interactive bee homes for ground level engagement. They would provide the town with 100 honey jars with custom design labels, a personalized online engagement platform with photo and video updates about the beekeeping program. There would be branded educational signage, access to a customizable marketing toolkit, and then just general liability insurance. That's what like the 12,000 would be essentially for most of that price for this company would be from the professional beekeeping, including the monthly visits that people could attend and the workshops. And then during the council meeting, they basically asked, what would it be if you provided a honeybee hive, we got the professional beekeeping with like maybe a couple interactive sessions without all the other online engagement and marketing platforms that the town council didn't feel like we needed. And that the company said it would be about 8,000 for that. So that's that. And then also the apiary is currently there, but the exact price of like what it would be for just the supplies or to kind of like the cheapest option, I'm not quite sure, but I could look into that.
Well, so what basic question is, if I'm not mistaken, the actual box, is still there.
Yeah.
And the question then becomes, what's you put inside that box, how
Oh,
beehives work is there's
yeah.
a set of frames,
Yeah.
and that's what the bees fill all the honeycomb with.
Mhm.
And so the question is, did Elizabeth take away those frames when
I
or
think they're still there, but they are hers.
they are hers?
Right.
Is the box hers?
No.
All the boxes are hers. She brought them.
Okay,
But
so basically not town owned. Okay, so
Without maintenance, those things deteriorate pretty quickly. Rodents get in and destroy everything inside the box.
right.
So there might not even be anything there that's usable.
So I was suggesting if it was usable, then we could, potentially. But if it's Elizabeth's materials and
Yeah.
equipment, then that's I don't want to offer something that's not ours.
yeah, and so Justin, if you could find it with the most bare bone contract with them, that'd be great to know.
Okay.
If people have concern about the cost, I mean, again, it's sort of like, we put in all these LED lights, even though we already had lights in our town. Um, and we spent many hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that project. Obviously, that took us like 25 years to do. And I think that the bee opportunity, the opportunity for the Somerset Elementary School to visit it or to be engaged with it, it's sort of like the bees give you an opportunity to sort of connect with nature at a whole nother level than like composting and recycling. And and it sort of brings you closer to, you know, what it is to be a steward of the planet. Um, so that's why I think it's important. I don't think we're not here to just like make honey and sell honey or give away honey. It's about just trying to just sort of try to make people more aware of our connectedness to nature. And this is such a easy way to do it. Um,
All right, thanks, Bart. Does anybody else have any thoughts on this before we move on? I think we're getting at about an hour at this point. I don't want to take it too much longer. I hear you, Barton, and I think that what I could potentially do is I know one of the real senior beekeepers in the county. He lives over in the Kenwood House, and
what's his name?
Frank Linton.
Okay.
And he, I will inquire with him when I see him, to see not he actually can't do it himself nowadays. He's got macular degeneration and can hardly see. So he can only help with beehives if someone else does the work. He can instruct based on his knowledge, but he may know, is there interest? Is there enough beekeepers? Is there, who are the
That'd be
people?
great.
Who are the people who are, doing this for profit? Is this a real thing? Is that too much of a price, etc.?
Great.
I'll look into that.
Thank you.
All right. So action items I hear from actually I'm sorry, I also have new business on there. Does anybody else have any other thoughts or any proposals that we should talk about or bring up and be prepared for the next meeting?
Just revisiting, Justin, I think we spoke about dark sky,
Oh, yeah.
whether or not we could find a way to become part of the Dark Sky organization. And I think the second one was beekeepers,
Yeah.
too, which is connected to the previous conversation.
Yeah, Bee City, that one's like I guess a little bit on hold right now because of the conversations there. Dark Sky, I will apply for that and see if we can get that. And then also on applications, I'm also working to be a Bird City recognition. It's kind of a relatively new thing. I through the Sustainable Maryland, their monthly emails, I saw that that's uh, somewhat of a new recognition. So I met the woman. Uh, I can't remember her name right now, but I think we should be able to get that pretty easily, which I'm excited for. We just have to pass a resolution, and they said that there's also like a bird club of Maryland that can help out with it as well. And we can have a uh, like we can make like an official bird of Somerset if we'd like, let people like vote on it, the birds that like live in Somerset, so that could be kind of fun. But yeah, so Bird City recognition is something that I think we should get. Yeah.
And to that point, just to find, I don't know whether people are aware of this, but if you ever write an article, about the birds and stuff like that, we use this app called Merlin.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
I'm sure everyone has seen it
I'm
before.
working on it, yeah.
The
Yeah,
white one,
Merlin's great.
and it's a great way to connect
Oh yeah,
with
I have that.
nature.
I do have that app. Yeah.
So I don't know whether or not and you're planning or anyone's planning to write any articles, but related to this bird designation, that might be a good opportunity to plug that app.
Yeah.
One other item I wanted to bring up, this is perhaps more of a Parks and Natural Resources Committee, which is the Vinton Park. I understand the town went ahead and mowed a path through there, which I'm not going to get in starting on that issue. That's a separate issue. But if we want pollination and pollinators, shouldn't we do a major project there? Now that it's and try to encourage a meadow and plantings of various types of flowering plants, in that area as opposed to just right now it's just grass.
You mean like native species
Native
flowers?
flowers, just pollination, focused.
It hasn't been grass, David, for a while. I mean, we stopped mowing earlier in the summer, and the reason that it got mowed is because what was growing up was a lot of turtleweed, which was about 5 feet high, and there was a tiny little path through it that you could get through.
Okay.
So it was inadvertently or mowed a wide swatch. But generally, what's happening is they're hoping to get a forest management plan in
Okay.
place.
Okay.
And we're talking to the Somerset House, which is already working with the county to get a whole plan in place.
Yeah, my personally, and this is something we don't have to spend time on. I would love to see more than grass there.
Oh yeah, nobody wants grass there.
Right.
Nobody.
Super. All right. With that, so the action items, let me try to assess them. One is, I'm for the next meeting, I will report on the composting, how it went. And I also will meet with the pool management and the pool committee to assess also. And that was one of the things I promised I was going to do. For the curbside collection of electronic items, I will reach out to the county, but meanwhile, I think Justin, you're going to look into perhaps the idea of a bin and things like that.
Yep.
And then for the sustainable options, I think the only really action item there was Justin was going to assess what's the capital plan for in the future. Is there a place that we can insert sustainable options for the pavement?
Yeah.
And then installation of solar canopies, I'm not sure there's much there we can work on at the moment. But I do think it's worth considering and thinking about. Perhaps talking to some of the people who have canopies and how much it costs.
Well, you can always, to your point, Justin, perhaps you can reach out to what's his name, Jim, the solar guy, um,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
and ask him how much would it just generally how much would it cost to put it on the parking lot, and
Okay.
he could give a ballpark just so we have information.
Mhm. Okay.
Don't you think so, Dave? Is that a reasonable?
Yeah, I think that's totally reasonable. I'm not sure that's what he does, but personally, I think this is my own personal opinion. There are so many very large parking lots in Montgomery County. In all, why we should be putting solar over those parking lots instead of putting solar out in the agricultural reserve.
Right.
Yeah.
But the problem is cost. It's a lot easier to put it out on small structures as opposed to tall structures.
Hmm. Well, let's see what he says.
Yeah.
Thanks, Justin.
Yeah.
And then on bees, I think the only thing outstanding is I'm going to just check with my Frank and see. And I think Justin, maybe you can look in to see whether it's possible. And I guess what are we going to do with all with Elizabeth's boxes? Does she want them back? Or what? What is the status of those?
And so I guess with the bees, essentially, it sounds like the Environment Committee basically wants to explore kind of all the options and kind of continue
Right.
considering things. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
And if you could
I'll let
find
the
the
council know, and also the Parks and Natural Resources Committee is interested in this as well, but they were also specifically interested in what you all think about it as well. So yeah.
if we could find the bare bones contract with that company too, remember?
Yeah.
I think their bare bones was 8,000. I
Yeah.
think they
Is that
said,
right?
I
Yeah,
think that's what they said was
Yeah.
their lowest.
I think you're right.
So, and personally, I'm not wild about the idea of spending that much money on bees. They're not native. They compete with native bees. We've
Right.
got them in homes. I think it's a great idea and I would love it to go on, but I think it's more of a, voluntary thing.
Okay.
Okay. With that, I'll call to adjourn the meeting. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I so move to adjourn.
And a second?
Yes.
All right. So we are now adjourned, and I will try to set a new meeting perhaps in the next 2 months.
I'm so very late. Sorry.
And so I apologize for taking so long to do this one.
Great meeting. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, apologize.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. It was
Bye.
nice to meet you all.
Nice meeting you, Amy.
Nice meeting you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.